Many thanks for joining us on today's edition of Dominion Sport right here on Dominion Television. I'm Boluwaji Ogunla. It's the midweek edition of the show, and we've got a whole lot to talk about. Well, the morning after a disappointing their campaign, the championship on a wrong note. Well, as expected anyways, after a long absence in the competition, they faced the defending champions, and it was always going to be quite tough, I must tell you. We'll talk about that on the show today. Toluwani Polabe is with me in the studio, and Toby Ajewale also joins us on Zoom to talk about the African Nations Championship, especially Nigeria's game yesterday, how we started, and what to expect going forward for the team, even as we push for another continental title. Boluwaji Ogunla is my name. Abi Paul is right here with me, Toluwani. Yes. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Boluwaji. Thank you so much for having me. And like you said, a poor start for the China Eagles of Nigeria, and it looks like individual play, happened in that game. Yeah. It looks like, I think maybe they noticed scout, around the system. I don't want to have that in my thought process, but they played individual football. They didn't play like a team, and that affected the eventual outcome of the game.
Because I was looking at the statistics, and of course, we only had like two chances.
Yeah.
And eventual statistics, we had the possession.
Actually, yes, I was speaking about that. We had the ball possession, for ourselves, but
there's more to football.
There's more to football than possession. But I'm sure we're going to unwrap all of that on the show today. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Toby Ajewale also joins us this morning. Hello, good morning to you, Toby. Hello, Toby. Can you hear me? Good morning.
Hear me now.
Of course, it's like Toby is sporting a new haircut, just like Toluwani. Apparently, I didn't get the memo.
Definitely.
And of course, Toby, it's the morning after the loss to Senegal. What's your immediate reaction to that loss?
Yes, definitely. The morning after the loss, honestly, I was not surprised because I knew the game would come with its own difficulties, with its own challenges. We were facing cup holders, and for many of these players, this would be their maiden appearance on a big stage on the Continental Showpiece Tournament as the African Nations Championship. Some of them had not even played in the CAF Champions League or CAF Confederations Cup, so it was like a baptism of fire. I remember that was what I called that game some weeks ago, and that was what happened. But at least the scoreline was respectable. It could have been another outcome if that mix-up at the back line didn't happen. But let's see how they would turn out in their remaining two group games.
Very important, because their next game is a must-win. It's redemption or exit for the boys. Before we talk about redemption or exit in the second game, let's take a look at the mix-up that led to that goal. I was expecting so much from Spider. I think it was more of communication, right?
Actually, I think for me, it was more of communication issues, between the backline and also, a Spider, the man from Shooting Stars right there that led to that goal. That error should not have even, happened. And I'm sure, Eric Shell is not to blame for that mix-up right there. Defenders and goalkeeper must have a communication strategy. If it's for you to allow the ball to remain for me, or maybe you should go ahead for the ball and things like that. And I think instinct also should be able to play out in such situations like this. And it is what it is right now. And it was a disappointing one. But I know, like I said, I feel that they can bounce back from this. Having to move forward as a team. And also remember, I said earlier on the show, I said it looks like they played individual football for themselves. They didn't play like a team. But I'm hoping that this can be addressed going forward in the competition.
Toby, what do you make of the starting 11? Because I only saw the likes of Anas Yusuf and Godwin Obaje coming in the second half, knowing the quality of the players. Any issues with the starting 11 for you?
Well, any issues with starting 11? I would say the reason why we might be talking about the starting 11 is maybe because the experiment didn't work out. Talking about the results. Even some people have been dropping cheeky comments saying it was Senegal versus Remo Stars. But right now,
I saw the comments on our Facebook this morning.
The boys.
I saw that. I was saying,
yes, exactly.
I was saying Remo Stars Eagles.
Exactly. You would have expected maybe the coach should have had a proper blend of the home-based talent and some of the experiences from some of the other players, even though most of them, as I said earlier, this is the first major tournament they will be playing in on the continent, be it club and country. But right now, I would say this is now in the past, talking about the first game being done and dusted. And let's see how they would learn from this, because as I said, it's good they had the most difficult game. That was what came first for them, so they can concentrate on the remainder of the two games and hopefully they qualify for the quarterfinals.
Well, just like you said, I totally agree with you. We're talking about the whole starting 11 situation because they eventually lost. But for you, for Toluwani, knowing what Gordon Obaje and Yusuf brings to the team, and I've expected them to at least come in earlier than they did. Actually, or was still playing for a draw, maybe, right?
So I think for me, I think the thought process would have been, if you can get the win, it was looking like in the 60th minute, the goal was not coming in. So let's say how we can just relax and play for a draw. But, that didn't turn out. The coach of the Senegalese had another plan for that game, and that happened for them. But for me, I think if you notice, immediately change the attacking system, bring in these players that also have a quality and can also bring in that into the game. For the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But that didn't happen. They had to come in 90 plus 1 at that point in time. What are they coming to do is the question. You'll be asking yourself. And also, I think I think now this change doesn't need to happen. I can understand that because we lost, we're complaining about a few that most of Remo Star players, in the locker. But you ask yourself again, these are the players that gave, the trophy to the Remo Stars team in the last season of the NPFL. So he must have thought that they have the quality, to possess the game. But I think right now, I'm sure, the experiment did not work out. He can have more, experiment coming the next game. Try and tweak in some new players in the system. Maybe Anas Yusuf start off before Sikiru Alimi, or maybe they bring him, in the second mid left at the game. And let's see what works about. I'm sure the target right now is to see how they can qualify for the quarterfinal stage.
Well, absolutely, that's the target, and that's what we're asking them at this point. Toby, well, let's talk about the next game. Just like I said, redemption or exit against Sudan next week, Tuesday. I mean, Toby, how do you think LHL should approach this one? And it's nice that the toughest game started first. I mean, and you have an opportunity to grow into the competition, right? You suffer that setback, you go back and look at what next to do, and of course, review. Toby, how should we approach this one?
Well, first things first, the game against Sudan also not be an easy game because the Sudanese national team, at least at the CHAN level, they are also a strong team because they also host some of the best club sides on the continent, from the CAF Champions League to the CAF Confederations Cup. Even some MPFL, we've seen MPFL players in the past leave the MPFL to even play in the Sudanese league. So it shows you that they also have their own strength, especially for a tournament for local-based players. So Eric Shell should know that at this point, the team has to keep a clean sheet. Worst case scenario, they end a draw. And they know that their last game they are condemned to win. But if I am to more or less advise the players, let them drop the nerves, because the nerves were high in that game from yesterday in Amman Stadium in Zanzibar. And you could see it. At some point, there was no coordination from passes, even at the early stages of the first half, even till the 36 minutes. They hardly troubled the defense line of the Teranga Lions yesterday. Just shows you that maybe they were overwhelmed with how the encounter went down yesterday. But ahead of Sudan next week, Tuesday, they should just take it easy. Let the coaching crew tell them that even if they lose, they'll see it as a learning curve for them. And ahead of that game on Tuesday, that is against Sudan, be that as it may, they should just take it easy. I know for Nigeria, we have not played in 2 consecutive CHAN tournaments, and that can also have its own psychological block on how they also perform. So that is where, apart from the actual tactics, they will need the psychologists to work on them ahead of the second game, and we will hope that the tactical ingenuity or genuity, as the case might be, of Eric Shell will come into play against Sudan next week.
Guys, after the game, I was on the Twitter streets as expected with my popcorn and just reading through all of the comments. And one thing that struck me was what we've always talked about, and people saying that the results is actually a reflection of our league, and there's no doubt about it.
Actually,
yeah, because look at other teams. The so-called obscure leagues. Look at what the countries are doing at the moment in the CHAN competition.
Permit me to butt in here. Another thing that I hope might not also be an issue for the team is the communication of Eric Schell and the players. Why do I say so? Now, we know English is not the first language of Eric Schell, and for some of us who listen to him, I'm talking about the press. Sometimes we
difficult to comprehend.
More or less struggle. Sometimes we have to listen twice to listen to understand what he's trying to say. Even at the last friendly games, which Nigeria had, the last FIFA international window, the Unity Cup, and even the friendly game which we had against the Russian national team. There was one thing that stuck out. I don't want to call it a sore thumb, but that friendly game against Russia, the Russians had to employ a translator for Eric Schell during the pre-game and even the post-game press conference there. So I'm now imagining now if there is no translator for Eric Schell with the from the NFF to the home base Super Eagles, and is by the touchline shouting or dishing out instructions. How will these players even translate these tactical instructions to gameplay? Now, that might also be another issue. So maybe, though it might be an afterthought from the NFF, but maybe if they can get a translator that would speak in the language that the boys can understand, maybe that can also help the team.
Or maybe we could have just gone with Fidelis Lechukwu and Ogumade instead.
Actually, for me, I would have thought about that. Why not use this home-based coach that understand these players, that can communicate with them, like Toby just said. I think also I was thinking about the communication factor right there. Well, I just thought that maybe they had a translator already, helping out to dish out instruction, because the interviews that we took from the players, they said they didn't really understand some words, but you just had to just adapt to the knowledge. It looks like, okay, this is what you're trying to pass across to us. So maybe that affected a little bit right there. So I think also if they can't get a translator, let Felix Ogumade, and also let them have that upper hand in instructions, passing instructions also to these players. I'm sure they will understand this coaches more, and this will be implemented going forward in this competition, because like Toby said, the game against Sudan, I don't want to say it's a do or die affair, but right now it's a must-win game, and if not, I think it's just pack your bags home and just leave. And also remember, we took an interview yesterday from Honorable Shoname saying, this is the reason why, we struggle to put our name, in the continent right here. And these are the reasons why, we're having these issues.
Toby, you want to talk about this particular situation? We didn't get you for a minute earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Just as I said about the communication gaps, and although we have Fidelis Lechukwu and even Daniel Ogumade, they are part of the coaching crew that are currently in Zanzibar, talking about the camp base of the home base Eagles now. But though it can be seen as an afterthought, maybe DF can get a translator right now. It's fine. It might not look good for PR, but I think if we are looking for results, we have to explore every option right now. And if we need a translator that can speak in the language the boys can understand, maybe we can go for one.
And just like I asked earlier, maybe it was an error from the NFF asking Eric Schell to take charge of this team. Maybe Fidelis Lechukwu and Ogumade could have just done the job themselves.
Maybe, just maybe, but you also know that Eric came in at a time where he didn't have much time to more or less handle the Super Eagles. Maybe barring the last FIFA international window where we saw him at the Unity Cup, also the game against Russia. So we thought, okay, let him build a pattern. Let us understand the Eric Schell ball, for lack of a better word. And we've seen him in the home base. Also, we've also said we want somebody that can also have a pipeline by the home-based Eagles can walk in straight to the mainstream Super Eagles, whereby even if the mainstream are not around, the home base can understand what Eric Shell's version of the Super Eagles can do and all. But at this point, we can say it's still on shaky legs, or noodle legs, as the case might be. But at this point, I think we might need to employ a translator moving forward.
All right, Toby, since we are talking about his communication skills, let's take the post-match reaction of the Franco-Malian tactician, after the game yesterday.
More aggressive than us. They put more intensity than us, and it's, for me, this is normal. They deserve this victory. So in second half, we gave the goal. This is too little mistake. So this is normal because we never get into this game. So maybe mentally, or maybe we scared about something, but we need to try to play football. And during 20 minutes, when we play football, we create a chance to score. We keep the ball during 20 minutes, and this is football. But to winning some game and to be ambitious, we need to be more aggressive. So for the second ball, for the duel, in first half we lost every duel. So okay, this is the first match. We have two games again, but we need to change our state of mind. And during the first half, aggressive on the pitch. We can't play football if we lost every duel during the game. In first half, we create no chance to score. So you need to be more aggressive. You need to be more aggressive offensively and of course defensively. But defensively, even we lost every duel defensively. I think we played sometime well, but the reality, we did just one mistake. So we need to improve in our state of mind. We need to be most competitive, once again, more aggressive, and we will see. But the game against Sudan and Congo, if we play like this, if we are scared about some things, we will come back in Nigeria quickly. Senegal was a big team, and
Super Eagles Franco-Malian tactician, that Eric Sekou speaking after the loss to the Senegalese yesterday. 1-0, the Super Eagles lost to the Senegalese yesterday. Of course, listen to him already, talking about what we need to do. The boys need to step up their game. They need to be much more aggressive. They want to remain in the competition. If they don't want to book an early flight back home.
And actually, and I'm sure even we the fans right here, we don't want them to book an early flight back, to Nigeria. We want them to still remain in the competition and see how far they can go for this one. And also, earlier before, at the opening game against, Senegal, we took, interviews from the players and also from the coach, speaking about the aggressiveness of the player on the ball. At them wanting more, you must want it more than your opponent. And if not, you don't get in the 3 points or the goals in the back of the net. So you must want it more. And going into this one against Sudan, I see it for me. I think they should be telling them. I see it like this is the last. And I'm sure, let me use the words of Boluwaji Ogumala as saying, yes, use this word, use this time as your last. Take it as your last time and use it well, because if not, you won't pick up, every necessary point going into this one. So I think this must be, a do-or-die game for the for Nigeria against Sudan going into the competition.
Looking forward to that, because looking at the results we've seen so far, it's been very competitive. You see so-called smaller teams picking up the needed result, because take a look at our group. We are bottom of the group.
Yeah.
Well, away from that, let's come to the Nigerian League. This time around, the Youth League. Now, as it was day 2 yesterday in the NPFL Youth League. Now, there you have the match day 1 where Benin Insurance lost to Ikorodu City, Remo Stars won 2-0, and for Shooting Stars played a 2-0 draw. And yesterday was day 2, and Shooting Stars took on Remo Stars, and it was a 4-1 victory for Remo Stars in that particular encounter. More of Beyond Limit, actually. Yeah, more of Beyond Limit Academy defeated Shooting Stars on the 19 team. Toby, should we be worried?
No, we shouldn't be worried. We shouldn't be worried. Football at this level is not necessarily about winning. It's just about the development and the growth, the career path of these players. And knowing that what Beyond Limits Football Academy they have done, I think if not one of the biggest, if not one of the most successful as of today, they are actually they are the most successful. Maybe if you take a look back at the glory days of the Pepsi Football Academy, but right now with what Beyond Limits they are doing right now, I think no one comes close to them. So that result yesterday, I was not surprised, talking about them pumping 4 goals past 3 assists on the 19 team. And we even saw pictures of Honorable Kunle Shoname and even Chief Taiwo Lekan Salami, both of them spotted in pictures. And I'm sure Shoname would have had words for Lekan Salami, talk about maybe things that they can definitely pick up and maybe impute into the project right here in Ibadan, talking about the Shooting Stars as a whole, from the senior team to the youth cadre. So for them, it should be a learning curve, and on to the next.
Well, on to the next for them, honestly. It's a rest day today, but still, Toluwani, it was a loss. It was a big loss. But don't forget, Beyond Limit Academy is a top side. They got promoted to the MPFL.
Honestly, and and Toby just took me down memory lane about the Pepsi Football Academy. That was one academy, that if you want to pick a good talent, you go there to scout. And maybe if I continued at Pepsi Football Academy, maybe I would have. Toby, maybe you might be talking about a certain Toluwani doing great in Manchester now. But injuries deterred that movement.
But absolutely, we honestly we need such academy.
Yes,
because a lot of talent scattered everywhere, looking for where to develop themselves. But unfortunately, we don't have such academy anymore. Or let me say, they're not as functional.
Actually, the word is functional.
That used to be. Because you want to take a look at the biggest and the best academy in Nigeria today, it has to be this Beyond Limit Academy.
Yes, you go to Beyond Limit, and that's why Toby said, it's not so much of a loss, it's just development. You need to go back to the drawing board and say how you yourself can also develop your own system right there and develop them better to what Beyond Limit are having right now.
Well, absolutely, we look forward to that one. See what Honorable Taiwo Lekan Salami will pick up from this one. And just like Toby said, we saw his picture with Honorable Kunle Shoname talking about the two top owners there. Let's see what comes out of this one. Hopefully, Shooting Stars will once again be a hunting ground for top clubs across the globe, as we've always done. Now, Toby, you were not here yesterday, and we've been taking this series from Abu Aziz's podcast with Honorable Kunle Shoname. Yesterday, he spoke about the part we played was where he spoke about the fact that Nigerian clubs are not ready because we are not financially buoyant enough to rub shoulders with them. Citing examples of our players earning 700 to 800,000 naira here in Nigeria, playing against North African sides that earn about 2,000, 3,000 US dollars. Closing that gap will be difficult.
Of course. And one of the major reasons why we have, if I can call it, capital flight or talent flight in the Nigeria Premier Football League now, since we are talking about the NPFL, is majorly economic. That's the reason why you see players leave Nigeria. They will go to Sudan, they will go to Tanzania to play football, because of when you look at the exchange rates. Imagine getting 2,000 US dollars per month. Convert that to the Nigerian naira, you will understand. You see the gulf in difference. Also, the exchange rate has not also made things easy in Nigeria. I think the highest paid Nigerian footballer earns earns around 1.2 million naira. That is it. That was as of last season.
Yeah.
So now imagine you getting 2,000 US dollars, maybe weekly, maybe monthly. You can imagine what that can do. It can change. It can turn your life around. So some of them will say, okay, just let me rush there, play for 4 months, 6 months, then come back. So more reason why we do not have the best legs. There was a time whereby players would from different parts of Africa would come and play in Nigeria. I will still use Enyimba Football Club when they won the CAF Champions League back to back. Then you remember the likes of Muri Ogunbiyi. He was the captain of the Benin national team. Jotex Frimpong was a Ghanaian, was playing for the Black Stars of Ghana. Their national team was playing in Enyimba Football Club, and just to name but a few. And that was, I'm talking about 2003, 2004. Yeah. You can imagine what the Naira was then. I think then the Naira was exchanging for around 130 Naira to the Euro, to $1 US back then. And look at it today, it's almost 1,500 Naira to the US dollar. So you would imagine why, or you would understand why we are having, should I call it talent flights, whereby the best of our legs would not be playing in the league. I have it on good authority that Anas Yusuf, after the African Nations Championship is concluded, he will be leaving the camp of Nasarawa United. And I'm even sure it's because of the African Nations Championship. Honestly, that is why he has not left. But once the Chan is over, he leaves. And that has always been the pattern, whereby the highest goal scorer always leaves
the next time once
the season is over.
Well, honestly, it is a very, very big issue. It's an economic problem that has to be addressed. But my question for you, and I think, Toby, you'll also have to answer this, but let's start with Toluwane. Okay. Should monetary factor be a major issue? Should it play a role in this case? Because ordinarily, you're proud to put on the Shooting Stars jersey, the Enyimba jersey, and you want to die. Like, I mean, we hear stories of, our ex-internationals, how they ain't getting the money, but they were still getting the job done, right? Should it always play a role?
Actually, maybe that time the economy was better than what we are talking about right now, and everybody were living fine, zero stress, less pressure, so I'm sure representing the badge would mean so much, to
beyond money.
Beyond money. But right now, money answers all things, and you speak to your family members, and the bills are popping up each day, and you're wondering, I'm fighting for the badge, and nothing is coming in. So how do you answer that question? So it's quite difficult, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why you see these players, they don't mind. You mentioned the leagues, Uzbekistan, Jordan, Sudan, Iran, they don't mind because, when they get them, like Toby said, 4, 6, 7 months, they come back again, to continue act like, they are coming to represent the badge, right there. Even in Europe, most of the players will tell you, oh, I'm representing the badge, this, that, and, but at the end of the day, when you look at the bulk of the money, you say, come on, man, I think this is what I'm here for at the end of the day. So I think, I think it's just right now that big government or whoever is running, our football in Nigeria, the NFF, they need to sit down and know that football grows the GPR economy of the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does massively. I can remember the last time we brought, I'm trying to remember his name now, from during the FIFA Club World Cup. Yesterday, I had an interview with him. He told us how, the economy of the US, not that the US are even doing bad, but now looking at what the FIFA Club World Cup did, to the economy again, was springed up massively right there. So I think they need to now sit down, everybody in charge of, sport Nigeria, to sit down and say, how can we, let our sport be a massive tool to grow in the economy right here in Nigeria. And at the end of the day, once we do that, every player or every athlete, representing the badge Nigeria or sport here right here in Nigeria would want to do more, because at the end of the day, if the economy is shooting up, they're also getting paid. They're getting the reward for their labor at the end of the day. So everybody's enjoying, that system right there. So I think they just need to sit down, go back and look at how can we structure this thing properly to help the economic situation. I was speaking with David yesterday, and we're talking about the last time we hosted a competition in Nigeria as a whole, and that was, I think that was the year 2009, where we held that the under 17 a World Cup, where we held it right here in Nigeria. And you look at what happened during that period, the economic situation shoot up massively, sales. But right now we cannot even bid to host things like this, and I think we have the capacity and the capability to hold all these things like that. But I think it's just sad, and it just begs the question. I can go go on and on, speaking about the 150 million being shared around. I'm not saying I'm not saying don't work out, don't pay for labor or hard labor right there. But I think there are better ways that we can let's channel it into the right things and let everybody just be happy.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you because when Malam Shehu Doku was appointed the NSC chairman, being someone who's been in football for years, vice president of NFL for like 8 years, you expect him to know better, right? Yes, better. And to pump money into the right places. Yes. Because with what Honorable Kunle Shuname said yesterday, I expect authorities to come and say, let's have a salary cap. Yeah. Right? Or before we go on, Toby, let's have your thought on this.
Yes, of course. Just as Toluwani said, money answers all things. And
don't mind it, relax money. Don't mind it.
Certain Cristiano Ronaldo is still exactly. Why is Cristiano Ronaldo still playing in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia today? Because of that humongous pay packet he gets weekly, if not even daily. If you are to break it into days, hours, that more or less rakes in money. So we need to make the environment conducive enough. We need to make everything profitable enough. So if we can hack that, so we can get that fixed, I tell you, a whole lot of things will fall into place.
Absolutely, very important. A lot of things will fall into place, and we expect them to listen and help us develop our league. And the fear now is, in as much as I want Super Eagles BT to win this competition, I just feel we need that point that will take us back to do the right things. Right? True. Winning it will probably give us an impression that everything is fine in our league. Yeah. But suffering an early exit, sorry, I'm still a Nigerian, I still have a Nigerian passport. But, suffering an early exit should give us that sense of responsibility, everyone involved, to say, we're doing something wrong. We need to step up. At the moment, but I'm sure Duku is enjoying it. As NSC chairman, he just backed $100,000 for the girls, for basketball team, for the football team. Big money coming from CAF. The Falcons will get 30% of that. They will get 70% of that. Where is that going to? Honestly, we really need to face all of this before we start seeing teams like Sudan and Chad, of course, knocking us out of CHAN competition, Toby.
Yes, definitely. It's sad. It's sad. Even you were even speaking about football. Just over the weekend, we saw the completion of the athletics national trials in Lagos. On the day of the final event, the athletes, I saw pictures, I saw videos. The 5,000 meters race walk, race walk that happened. Well, the athletes were running in the dark.
Yes.
So all of these things, and we have the AFN, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, who's more or less meant to superintend the competition. They didn't issue any statement, at least something for PR sake or a safe-facing excuse that, this was what happened. We will not allow this to go on. But if something major is to happen right now, they are always quick to look for that photo-op opportunity, splash the money, and they will neglect the actual development of the sport.
All right, Toby, you said something very important here, but let's just give them some time, honestly, because the money is really coming in now. Let's hope that they will channel it to the right places and help develop our sports accordingly. Now, let's go back to Honorable Kunle Shuname and find out what he's saying this morning. It's a long one, and it's a series. I'm putting it on a series and ensuring that we pick them one after the other and take learnings from that. Honorable Kunle Shuname on the show this morning.
You have no right whatsoever to chastise the coach or to blame him if you influence his decision. Then you cannot blame him. That means he's carrying out your own instruction if he fails. So you must give him 100% free hand to do whatever he likes. If he fails, you can sack him. Then you sack him for sure.
Oh, okay.
So, but you can advise, just like any fan. You too can say, even fans. I mean, fans to say, hello, make any player in now. Everybody can say, but the coach knows exactly what he wants to do, and he will do exactly what he wants to do. But you can advise, you can ask questions. This boy is trying to.
Well, Honorable Kunle Shoname speaking there, dropping another bomb. Well, in case you didn't get that correctly, now he's saying that as a club owner or the chairman of the club, if you are giving direct instructions to your coach, then you have no moral right to chastise him if things go wrong. But he says you can advise. Now, Toby, let's do it this way. It says you can advise, but not instruct. Now, the thin line, how do you draw the difference between advice
And instruct.
Because as a coach, for instance, Toluwani is the coach, I'm the club owner, and I go like, Toluwani, why don't you bring in Sibigua, this particular player? I think he's good. For me, it might sound as an advice, but for Toluwani,
Looks like an instruction.
looks like an instruction because if things go sour at the end of the season, I'll probably make reference to that.
Yeah, true.
Yes, definitely. I understand what you're trying to say. No doubt about that. Sometimes instructions, opinions, there might be a very thin line between that. And just as people like to say, opinions are free. However, instructions might be like directives. Oh, I'm ordering you to do this. So it now depends on the existing relationship between club owner and coach in this case. If the club owner is somebody that understands that, the coach has total control of the players, especially on game day, then he knows that whatever he says should be in the realm of opinions. However, if he's insisting or doing this or doing that, then it means, okay, you want to more or less take over the role of a coach and you want to undermine
Or I think we lost Toby for a moment there. Hopefully we'll have him back.
Yeah.
But Toluwani, here you have it. It's kind of difficult, right?
Actually, it's really difficult for me because, I think you have to look at it in two different ways.
Aside from the thin line
Yeah.
between instruction and... It also goes like, if I advise you or instruct you, I still own the club. If something goes wrong, I should chastise you.
Yes, actually, I'm sure that also, has something to play in that part. But I think, like you said, also, Honorable Shoname said, I think at the end of the day, if you can give the coach a free will to do whatever it seeks that, is right for the club, and when they mess up, I think we can now come in to say we want you out of the job, this and that. And also, I think also Toby said, there must be a certain relationship you must have with the board owner and also relationship with the coach, that a little bit of of opinion, saying I think this player I can fit into the system, like you said, let's see if we can have this player. I take it back to Chelsea in the days, and you look at most of the transfer did not coming from some certain managers that they had in the past, it came from, and it happens in all football clubs
At the end of the day, the coaches get sacked.
The coaches get sacked, and you wonder. So that's where the problem with aside from the issue with Manchester United, that's where the issue comes in with. You're the one getting this problem. You're the one with the problem. The Glazers out. We want a new system. Let's see how we can get better with the end of the day, because you're just sacking managers. The problem, we're not solving the root of the problem right there. But I think it's okay to have a certain opinion, but not instruct, because that's why you have the coach. That's why you brought him in. So if you want to be the coach, you trust him. So come be the coach and give yourself the instructions also, and also give yourself the opinion. But I think it's okay to have opinions, because when you look at, I'm paying you, the club is not doing fine. You can call into the dressing room or the board meeting. What do you think we can tweak here and there? It's just my opinion. You can have your own say, but I just feel that moving the club forward, what do you think we can do, and this and that, not instructing, because you have given him the mandate already to do justice with the players and also on the field of play.
Well, absolutely. It's a very difficult one, but we'll continue this particular series and subsequent shows, and of course, pick from Honorable Kunle Shoname, billionaire owner of Remo Stars Football Club, and of course, Feirense in the second division of the Portuguese League. All right, let's go to our last discussion of the show, and that has to do with our man, Ademola Lookman, who has missed training twice this week, on Monday and on Tuesday. And the latest news is that he has emptied his desk at Atalanta's training ground, putting prayer on the club to say, I'm out. I'm not playing for this club again. difficult times for Mola. I mean, for him to have gotten to this stage, you know that things have gone really sour, and it's irreparable at this point.
Honestly, it's all south right now for Ademola Lookman, and I think you know is for him to you know take these moves. It's just you know pure out of frustration. You know him not being happy with the situation with the club, and you know you gave a bolder statement yesterday. You said you know there was a statement, you know exclusive statement from you know the management of Atalanta saying you know we said we are not going to sell you to any Italian club. So if Inter Milan are even bringing 80 million, doesn't look like we're going to sell you there because it's going to be a problem for us, you know, going into the season. But I think there are better ways to handle situations like this. And not frustrate a player who have done single-handedly, you know, won you, you know, your first European trophy, you know, and it doesn't look like you're going to be in the pedestal, you know, to win that again. And for me, but I just feel that, you know, there are better ways to handle the situation. I feel Ademola also, I can understand that it's frustrated. Let's see how, you know, he can also fit into, you know, the system and say, okay, what other options, you know, do we have, you know, for things like this, so that it don't look like at the end of, because this, you know, this management in Italy, they will frustrate the living daylight out of you, and at the end of the day, you look like all fingers will now be pointing at you that, oh, you really messed up the deal, and meanwhile, they won't understand the situation right there.
Well, absolutely. We just hope that all of this will be resolved as soon as possible. Before we leave, because our time is fast spent, I want us to watch Nigeria's game yesterday, and of course, to talk about the matches for today. But quick one, Gary Lineker. Yesterday, I saw a podcast where he spoke about Victor Osimhen, saying that he heard on good authority that top European clubs actually pulled out due to sign Victor because of his character.
You know, the English media will want to try, so I don't buy into the English media. They have they want to always have something to say, and you see, and that's where they also see their money. So when you sit down, you know, behind cameras and on your lights, you know, you can just sit down to say whatever it is you want to say about a certain player right there. So I think you know, if we're going to, it's just like us now, we're giving Gary Lineker another opportunity to speak, and I hope he sees this video that can speak about us, so that we can become a global phenom right there. Also for me, but come on, I don't know where he's getting that story from. I don't know where he's seeing it from. We all know that the major reason why Victor Osimhen did not you know get those deals done and sorted out, because you know when you look at the salary issue, paying off the tax and this and that, it becomes a problem for him at the end of the day. So how much is remaining in the account right there for Victor Osimhen? But it looked at a lucrative deal with Galatasaray. The love right there also from the fans and also from the player, and also Victor Osimhen giving us you know a wonderful you know Hollywood story, saying his daughter was one of the reasons why I don't know where that script. I don't know who wrote that script.
Honestly.
But, you know, wonderful script.
Gary Lineker's comments didn't go down well with Toluwani, I must tell you. And Gary, avoid Toluwani. Avoid him, honestly. All right, before we go, let's go back to Chan and talk about the games to look forward to today. Burkina Faso will take on Central African Republic today in the first game of the day at 3 o'clock. And later on at 6, we would have Mauritania take on Tanzania. Those are the games to look forward to today. And of course, we'll definitely be leaving you with highlights of Nigeria's game yesterday and the other group game that we saw in Group D also yesterday, and that was Congo versus Sudan that ended 1-1. That was the size of the show this beautiful morning. Thank you very much, Toluwani.
Thanks so much for having me.
And big thanks to Toby Ajiwale who joined us earlier, and of course a bigger thanks to each and every one of you for watching this beautiful morning. Don't forget to always tell a friend about this wonderful dial, Dominion Broadcast on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and share this all across all social media platforms. Of course, the show definitely returns tomorrow. Till then, do have a beautiful